Greetings everyone there. This is Dr. Ken Waningu, and I'm so glad to have you tonight. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone. I can see Lukemeo, Keduma, Ruben No, Frederick, our Ron, very honored administrator, Caesarina, Dr. Matthew White, welcome. And everyone I can see there from outside Africa, in Africa and the United States, I take this opportunity to welcome you. Black, it's good to see you there. And I would also thank God that tonight we have wonderful guests and wonderful business people and entrepreneurs who would like just to pitch their businesses. And thank you, Dr. Rollan Roberts. I take this opportunity to welcome you to go ahead and speak to our team. Welcome, sir.
Very good. Thank you all. Welcome to the African Stakeholder Call and Meeting 2020. And we're excited to be with you today. There's a lot to share and a lot that has been done and happening on the continent. And we're proud and excited to really just kind of share the update of what we're dealing with. Also present with us, I'll be introducing several people throughout my remarks and be having them share some thoughts with you as well, so that you can understand where they're coming from. And I'm looking forward to you meeting them. So Dr. Ken, His Eminence, thank you for the coordination of this. And I want to welcome our guests from the United Nations and our partners there. I also want to welcome folks that are on my team that you will meet at length in the future. You will be meeting Lynn Benway, who heads up the cybersecurity solutions, Madam Nakan June, who heads up the women's training and entrepreneurship and mentorship programs, and Mr. Jim Chisholm, who is an expert at city and county and local government and governance. Mr. Alex Cunningham, who is the head of our Clean Water Technology Initiative. Dr. Matthew Whiteside, the leading authority and scientist in the world on phantom dots and nanodots and things of that nature, extensive writings on that. And pleased to welcome him, and pleased to welcome Matt Sexton, just a great, just a right hand in support and great at execution on many of these programs. We have head of our road infrastructure for rural road creation in Africa. And so I welcome you. And then a couple of the financiers of Transform Africa, and those that have significant investment in the continent already. We welcome you and Annette and Will and another United Nations stakeholders. Thank you for being here. Also want to thank one of our county leaders that is with us today, and her area, her county, she directly reaches 500,000 Africans in her village in the county there, and we were privileged to have a private meeting prior to our stakeholder call here on how we can really make a difference in her community and in the lives of 500,000 African people. It is a very unique thing. It is a very economical thing to do, but it is extremely impactful. And all of the things that we visit and touch on this call are specifically directed to different things that even she has purposed to bring and to fulfill in her village, trying to do the same thing. Because ultimately, we are transforming Africa, and together we are transforming Africa. So I am, with those introductory remarks, I want to explain what Transform Africa is and who we are and what we're doing. I also wanted to extend one remark to a word of greeting to Bishop John of PEFA organization. The partnership that we have with, that Transform Africa has with PEPFAR has been monumental. They reach millions of Africans in 26 countries. And we have in the partnership with them, we have by extension office space and personnel in each one of these 26 countries. And so it is with great just gratitude and thankfulness to them for seeing the vision and wanting to make a difference on this continent. It is because of them that much of what you hear is even possible. You can have programs all day long, and if you don't have people, you have nothing. You can have all the financing and resources in the world, and if you don't have people, you have nothing. And I can tell you that has been the challenge of the United Nations. That has been the challenge of most NGOs and nonprofits that come to Africa. They all are well-meaning and well-intentioned, but it does no good if the trust and if the people aren't there. And so what has set Transform Africa apart from every other initiative on this continent is that we have such deep partnerships, and that these partnerships are already reaching millions and millions and millions of people. So whether it is a brand, if it is clean water, if it is a technology, if it is a software, if it is a mentorship program for men or for women, or entrepreneurial education or agribusiness, regardless of what the space is, we have the conduit and the infrastructure to roll out everything that needs to be rolled out with millions of users real time. And that is what we recognize as the favor of God that money cannot buy, no amount of strategy can buy or create. It is simply divine favor, and for that we are grateful. So I want to do one thing. I'm going to walk through the Transform Africa, the areas that we intentionally are focusing on transforming. We want to transform Africa economically. But in fact, that's what I came here to do, was to transform Africa economically. But you quickly realize you cannot transform Africa economically until you first transform them in many other areas. Their infrastructure, clean drinking water, living standards of living. Those are areas that must be addressed in order for them to engage in commerce. So it does no good if you have to walk. Only 3% of Africans drive to work. There is no railways. There's no subways. There's no high-speed rails or trains. It is what is the word? The buses.
Yes, it's the bus.
It's essentially the matatus. It's essentially a small bus, like taxis that get the vast majority. Actually, they just get us another small subset. The real vast majority are walking. And by the way, they're not walking on sidewalks. Their sidewalks are just dirt paths, red dirt, red clay, as you'll see in most of Africa. And so there are some significant barriers to just coming in and doing commerce. So we realized quickly that it's not enough to bring capital for enterprises, but that we have to go beyond that, and we have to improve quality of life. And a lot of it is things that people know and understand and see, but what they don't see and understand or recognize is that you can't just have an initiative or a mandate and come into a country and start changing their infrastructure. That requires government partnership. It requires many, many stakeholders, which Transform Africa is blessed to have. And so that is why we are able to affect this change quickly. One of the things that I am most excited about is that from the very lowest or common person that we've been able to help, it is also because we have support at the highest levels of these African governments. These are the meetings that we have, whether it's with ministers or presidents or economic development, gender equality, all of the different Ministers of Defense, all of the meetings are so unprecedented in terms of access and in terms of support, regardless of parties and regardless of affiliations, because outcomes are the objective, regardless of local politics and things of that nature. So we want to see economic transformation, but to see economic transformation, we have to engage in social transformation. Part of that social transformation is by improving much needed services with healthcare. I had, within the first week of being on this continent, I had several ladies tell me, leaders from their counties and their state, their countries, that they literally have people where the vast majority of their village has no, they can only take one shower every they said 5 or 6 months. One shower every 5 or 6 months. And because of the lack of access to clean water. And what that means from a healthcare perspective is that women, often go their entire lifetimes without ever seeing a doctor or a gynecologist or any of those things. They're having to reuse sanitary pads for years. It is unfathomable and unconscionable, some of the healthcare gaps that are prevalent. But we have, through Transform Africa and through our partnerships, developed and are developing mobile clinics using containers that we are able to set up all throughout Africa, throughout the various countries. And that is on a subsidized type program that we're working with our funding partners on. But part of that feeds into another initiative that I'll share in just a moment, but that is, the educational transformation that is required. So to part of bringing everyone to an economic standard and to transform Africa socially, we'll have all of these mobile clinics, but you have to have, doctors or nurses and people who are able to frontline, who are able to triage. So one of the things is through our vocational and trade schools and our School of Business and Entrepreneurship, and through the International College of Peace Studies and so forth, that all kind of roll up under all under Rollan's College. One of the things that we're doing there is training kind of frontline medical personnel in triage, so that very similar to like what an ambulance worker would be in many other countries. So they are able to handle some immediate emergencies using the mobile clinic. But what we'll also implement is the travel nurse program, so that whether it's 1 day a month, 1 day a week, we have people who are able to travel to the remote regions and rural areas and serve the people in those areas. And so that's one of the ways that we are bringing about social transformation is through healthcare, meeting basic human needs through clean water, the technology that we have there, and also through empowering the education in women and men. The technological transformation, certainly needs to happen in rural Africa. We have to bring, stable power is prevalent, but we need better alternative energy methods. Solar is not as cost efficient as you would think, and so we need stronger power sources. We're already working on the strengthening the technological infrastructure for Wi-Fi, different satellites and so forth, but we have to have stable internet in order to do commerce. We could solve a lot of the export problems and challenges that Africans have if they had more consistent access to the internet. Just yesterday, I was without Wi-Fi for most of the day. I had several important calls with the government of Uganda and with other stakeholders throughout Africa. And in the midst of that, I'm having to use hotspot, which sucks data, tremendously. So it's not sustainable. And so we want to empower our entrepreneurs and businesses in rural Africa, not just in the city centers. And of course, the education transformation, many girl childs do not get the education that boys get in Africa, or they will start to they all have to go work in order to provide for the family, starting at a very early age. And so part of the education transformation is some of the partnerships that we're making and continuing to make with the School of Business and Entrepreneurship. But underneath that, there's a whole lot of tracks. So there are people for the most rural places to be able to engage in some automated training and curriculum that I've developed over the last decade to help them start and run their businesses and get into a business mentality. We have been on a 6-country African funding tour since I left the United States on July 31st. And I can tell you that I've had hundreds of businesses that have presented to us, and we have about 60 that are getting funded at this point, and we still have more to go. We're doing Botswana on Monday. But the challenge is many of them did not need money, or where the money they thought they needed, that would have hurt them. And so I've had to do a lot of education on, I would love to give you this 100,000 USD, but that's going to crush you. And here's why. What I'd rather do is give you $1,000 to buy the 5 pigs that you're wanting. And they still have the mentality that a lot of American and European and entrepreneurs have around the world, which is, I have to start here so that I can cover my payroll and my salaries and things like that. Well, that's not how entrepreneurship works. You start at the entry point, and I said, I don't want you to quit your job. I want your job to keep paying the bills of your home, and then you start this, and because then all that profit needs to go back into inventory so you can keep that cycle and process going. That is a foreign concept here, and but we have to continue that education and that teaching. They need that support. So we have certificate programs, and in our partnership, one of our partnerships, we have 9 different tracks and programs for vocational education, such as dairy farming, piggeries, fisheries, aquaponics, greenhouse farming, and the nurse and triage, and just a number of other, mechanical, a number of other specific trades that it's not enough just to teach the skill. You have to also teach how to run the business, or else you never grow. So those are a lot of the things. And of course, that leads into degree programs and advanced degree programs. And, I'm so thankful that we have the partners who are already providing the degree programs and advanced degree programs in the United States and here in Africa. And so part of what we will be doing is we're working, and this is one of our 2021 objectives really that we're going to have to figure out with our stakeholders, and that is the various places in the world where we have campuses, how we interact and transfer students based on the entry point, where they come in the educational pipeline, whether they're coming in at certificate programs or we just need the generic entrepreneur training, or we need one of these trade or vocational educations. And the governments here pay the tuition in many cases, or fund it and finance it completely. And so the financial aspect of it is extremely sustainable and attractive. But it's all about execution. So we have, in part of our partnerships, have been given access to 30 acres on like Lake Malawi, for example. Stunning land. We have land right now that's valued at $5 million for one particular project that we are able to just do, and that's what they're providing us. So we have a lot of assets at our disposal to make this difference and to execute the educational transformation. And so I would also want to move, though, to some of our specific transformation services. And as part of this, I will ask people to some of my team, just to say a brief word, just introduce yourself and say hello, and maybe speak for 30 or 60 seconds about your experience or background and so forth. The first one is on infrastructure improvement. The first area, as I mentioned, is on infrastructure. This is roads, this is agribusiness, this is clean drinking water, and advanced technology that we want to implement through a sustainable model that empowers and gives back to the local communities. It has to be sustainable. And so to start this, I would like to introduce Mr. Jim Chisholm, the local governance authority that I mentioned, who has done significant infrastructure projects in the United States. So Mr. Chisholm, I'll turn it to you to just address infrastructure.
Thank you, Roland. Good morning, everybody. As you indicated, I'm Jim Chisholm. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the City of Daytona Beach, and I have been in the business of managing, developing, and providing resources to communities all throughout Florida and the United States for 40 years. So I have extensive knowledge and background in water, wastewater, road development, and the various infrastructure needs and sustaining development and growth in communities. You know, a successful community continues to grow, and you have to have the infrastructure to assist in that growth, but you also have to have safe communities that that can arrive at a point where it's a successful venture for everyone. So I'm very attuned to looking at all aspects of the impacts of the improvements that we make in our communities. And in Daytona Beach, as an example, we've attracted about $2 billion worth of investment in infrastructure in the last 5 years. And as you can tell, that's a significant investment. It's also a significant challenge to improve all of the parts of the community at the same time while you're making those improvements. I hope that gives you an idea of the length and breadth of the kind of activities I get involved in every day. But thanks, and it's an honor to be with you all, and happy to provide assistance where I can.
Thank you, Mr. Chisholm. You know, one of the great things is what he has, in addition to all of the infrastructure projects, it really is his strength and his niche. Is just very adept at that. When he starts talking about water systems and just the sewer and how the stations work and how to deploy that, and road infrastructure, and learning where they should go, how they should go, and so many bridges, all of the construction that he has done and the infrastructure that he's brought to that city, it's really astounding. And so we're glad that you're here. I next want to speak about the business funding, because that's one of the ways we can be empowering existing entrepreneurs and existing businesses. Look, Africa represents 15% of the world's population. 15%, there's over 1 billion people on the continent of Africa. And so when we make a difference in Africa, we are changing the world. And you have to understand, this is the last great economic frontier this world will ever know. There's only so much land, and this is the last one. And we want to do it right. And so many people have pillaged the land and the people over the centuries. But there is something different happening right now. It's a different time, a different space. And so part of the business funding and the incubators and the accelerators, we have partners for that. One of the main partners is the Timeless Women's Group and host of the Timeless Conference, which is in different countries every year. And so I'm going to, so part of what we did was start an African funding tour. They have a bunch of enterprises that they serve women with mentorship programs and with business training. And so they're helping them because women are still the primary breadwinners in Africa for their homes, many of them. And so they have been really empowering the women and to support them and in the current structure that they are engaged in. So one of the things we want to do is provide this funding tour for that people who had gone through their 5- and 6-month program, preparing and training. They went through our legal analysts, our business analysts, just the technical team, preparing their business for funding. The problem is that historically, the U.S. investors don't trust African entrepreneurs, and African entrepreneurs do not trust, U.S. investors. They think they're going to come in and take their business and leave them with nothing. Partly because that has happened in some places. So this has been a historical tour. Number one, that in the sense that we've done it this many countries, and governments were asking us. Madam Nakan here in a moment can speak to the number that we were not even able to get to on this tour, because simply we can't spend our entire life doing this all day, every day, although we would love to. So the need is great, and we have the people who are able to execute this. And so without further ado, I would like to pass it over and introduce to you the CEO of Timeless, who has been my gracious host here on the continent. Madam Nakan?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Rollan. Indeed, it's a pleasure to host you in Africa for the very first time.
Yeah,
yes, the second time we met at the Timeless Conference in Kigali earlier this year, for delivering that conference. So just as Dr. Rollan has mentioned, the Timeless Dynamic Services, its subsidiary, which is the Timeless Women of Rwanda, has been transforming Africa socially and economically, for over 15 years. I have over 22 and a half years, experience in the private sector and development sector, working throughout all the countries in Africa, working with government, development agencies, the private sector, just to see how we can bridge and create collaborative partnerships to transform our continent. Indeed, the time is now, and this is the last frontier. This is the last economic frontier of the world. When you look at the potential that Africa has, it's about time that we harness that potential. The African people are very resilient people, full of diversity, culture, talent, gifting, and such a strong sense of dignity and purpose. And it's about time that those of us who are engaged in Africa's transformative growth story, we look at how we can actually bring what we have on the table. We're listening to the profile of the guests who are on the call. This is about time that we brought our technical expertise, our financial resources, our know-hows, the passion and purpose that we have, to just sort of connect with the people in the continent of Africa to drive Africa's growth. Now, when you're looking at the Timeless Network, we have a network, throughout Africa, working with, from the top leadership, the presidents, the governments, the private sector, on the development side with diplomats, but also key at the center of that is businesses and private sector. But it's not enough to have, the linkages where it matters. We have to have the decision makers, the policy makers, those who have the resources, mobilizing the resources and allocating the resources. But we have to translate that to the ground, where it matters, where more than 80% of Africa's population is. And when you look at the economic statistics of the people of Africa, very great talent, very great passion, but still living, at poverty level, earning, between $0 and $3 a day. And one of the things that we developed over the last 13 years in the Timeless Network throughout our African country programs, both for men and for women, is business models that work and tangible interventions that actually translate to economic livelihoods. So looking at opportunities in what we're calling future industries and non-traditional sectors. Obviously, like Dr. Rollan has mentioned, there's a lot of need for infrastructure development. When you're looking at quite, the factors of production, labor, the workforce, you're looking at capital, you're looking at the infrastructure itself, right? These are things that will open up access to markets and increase the commerce of the people, obviously increasing the economic incomes of people, and the quality of life does then improve. So at Timeless, we've got thousands and thousands and thousands of enterprises on our network throughout these different countries. And what we're looking at is SMEs and enterprises as a key driver for Africa's economic transformation, because they are the lever. Okay? At the center of that, we are very big on inclusivity, because women and youth must be brought into the equation, which is why we started a subsidiary called the Timeless Women of Rwanda, which just looks at a focused intervention of bringing inclusivity into the matters of development, the voice of those who are not included. 80% of small-scale farmers in Africa are women, but they're not included at the center of Africa's transformation in terms of policies, in terms of resources and allocation. Our consumer markets, most of the consumer decisions are driven by women, but they're not really included in matters that are economically important for driving resource allocation and mobilization. You're looking at the political leadership, you're looking at all sectors, health and sanitation. The biggest consumers of health services are women and children, but their needs really brought at the center of development. So at Timeless, we have actually carved very strong partnerships with the national governments across the countries that we work in, and the community leaders across all the counties and countries, so that we are bringing in women and the needs of women in health and sanitation and the basic needs of life, so that we can empower the women even as we are driving our economic transformation, so that it's holistic. Okay, so over the past like 5 to 6 years, we've put together platforms. What Dr. Rollan has mentioned, an annual platform that brings together the leaders of the continent to drive conversations, the timeless conferences. The ADS now, the African Diplomatic Entrepreneurship Summit, which is going to be side by side, with the timeless conference, which is going to be driving very targeted approach for our African transformation. Okay? When we bring together the leaders, global leaders across all the sectors, then we're looking at putting in decisions that can drive that accelerated growth for enterprise and for the people of Africa. Then we have the community leaders, the women, the youth, and the enterprises at the center of that conversation. When we lead that, we have to develop simplified and actionable programs, which is what is going to drive Africa's transformation. And that's what we have carved a niche for in the Timeless Network. So through our various country networks, various country leads, we have consolidated teams of hundreds of thousands of enterprises that come onto the African funding tour that you've just had Dr. Rollan talk about. And we are doing our first leg with 6 countries, but a demand already of more than 15 countries, asking for this, because when you're looking at a time of COVID, when the SMEs have been greatly affected in Africa, you're looking at a targeted approach to empower, equip, and support these enterprises to thrive, as interventions for Africa's growth story. So indeed, we are very, very privileged to be part of the stakeholders that Courageous US and Timeless are in. Our partnership is very geared towards providing solutions and interventions that work for the people of Africa. I just want to also highlight that the people of Africa are ready now, and they're dignified people who have great potential, who are ready to play a big role in their own lives transformation and in the transformation of their communities. And as we come together to develop solutions that work, it's so important to take into consideration the context. And that is why I'm so happy that we're working with Dr. Rollan, who understands the American mindset and psyche and the context of culture, and with the Timeless Network, which understands the context for over 25 years, understanding how Africans work, the psyche, the culture, and the diversity, to be able to put together very tangible and practical solutions that will transform our continent. So even as we move forward, let us look at how we are trying to commit our efforts, our time, and our energies to be offering very practical, contextualized solutions that work for the African people. Thank you so much, Dr. Rollan.
Thank you, Madam. At this time, I would like to ask Dr. Waningu to introduce our esteemed guest to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for this opportunity. Behind me, as you can see, is the County Chief Officer from the County Government of Bungoma, together with her husband that visited us today. Madam Sheila, please come and introduce yourself and basically what you're doing in your county government as a county chief officer. Just get seated.
I'm privileged this afternoon. My name is Sela Mutsoto. I'm Chief Officer for Cooperative Development, Bungoma County. Now, when working with the cooperative movement, you realize that a lot of the population percentage is actually living with a lot of poverty. And we'd really like to impact on these people through empowering the rural woman. The rural woman is the base or the foundation of the family. And what the rural woman does is what affects even the woman in the urban centers. So we'd like to do a lot of mindset change through capacity building, and also do skills training and see that this woman becomes economically empowered through simple agricultural practices, especially focusing on the indigenous foodstuffs, because our indigenous foods are usually not expensive and they are also nutritionally quite good. We'd also like to improve the nutrition of the family in our local areas in the rural through dairy farming, so that the woman will be on the forefront. Dairy farming will provide milk, and this is going to improve our nutrition. The nutrition of the child in these rural areas has a lot of impact on anything else that comes afterwards in life. So we really are thankful to be part of this transforming Africa, but we're going to transform Africa through the rural woman. That is where the urban woman comes from the rural woman. Thank you very much, and we believe that it is going to work.
Thank you. Welcome. Yeah,
Yes.
Maybe you have something to say? Okay, yeah, okay. All right, thank you.
Very good. We thank you for that word and for sharing your heart. And of course, we're thankful that you're here. I was so humbled. They were so kind they drove or spent 8 hours in transit to get here yesterday. And I was not able to visit until prior to this meeting. And so they've waited the day, and we had just a very encouraging meeting on how we're going to be able to help Mogambo County and the 500,000 people that she leads and that they look up to, and she specifically impacts. So, Madam, we're very thankful for the work that you're doing for the rural woman. And so with that, I would like to move to the next area that we are and talk to you about what we're specifically doing to transform Africa entrepreneurially. Obviously, you heard about our partner, Timeless, that has all of the programs for women, and also we have the certificate courses for men and women with the School of Business and Entrepreneurship. We have a lot of programs that we have just given out complimentary that even in the US are $5,000 to just help give a 90-day crash course on how to start a business, how to grow it, how to maintain it. And so that has been extremely impactful here on the continent. But one of the outcomes that we noticed through the funding tour was that there were many people trying to improve their quality of life by starting a business, but especially in agribusiness or fishery or aquaponics or a greenhouse, and so just various forms of agribusiness. And so he actually helps, and we strategize on just about everything that I work on. And so I'm so humbled and honored to have Mr. Matt Sexton with us today. And if you wouldn't mind unmuting, I would like for you to share just a word, and because I know that especially agribusiness is very close to you and what you've done.
Right, greetings to everyone. It's my privilege to be with you today. I'm sorry that I couldn't be there with Dr. Rollan in person, but due to the circumstances in the world, I wasn't able to be there this time around, but God willing, I will be there the next time. I have had the privilege predominantly to work with folks developing long-term relationships. We begin with a spiritual foundation, and then we move from there into the different areas that Dr. Rollan's been discussing, primarily working to establish these relationships so they can continue long-term, built on transparency, and built on truth, and built on trust. And so we like to come into an area. I've had the privilege to serve in 18 different countries, primarily in Africa and the Middle East, and to be able to come alongside, listen to the needs, be able to find out what exactly is the need, come back to where we find a pool of resources, and be able to connect those resources with the present need, and then work until the folks are able to stand on their own, continue. And of course, we love to see young people be able to take the reins, be trained to be able to be leaders with integrity. And so we're excited about the privilege to be here. And I would be remiss if I did not say hello to Dr. Corsa, a longtime friend who's joined us there from Ghana. I haven't seen you in quite a while, but it's wonderful to see your face, Dr. Corsa.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Sexton, for sharing those remarks. And I'm telling you, you all just heard at Jim that what the depth, there's hardly another soul on planet Earth that I can just sit and talk with for 6, 7, 8 hours, regardless of the convenience or how hard the seat is or anything else, the surroundings. We're able to just visit and commune. And these are the things that we sit around and talk about, how we create impact, how we make a difference. And I'll never forget, we were visiting over dinner with his father a couple months ago. And as we were leaving, he left these words. He said, to transform any people group, it requires three things. And it was, I think, a quote from David Livingstone, who said, it takes three things. It takes culture, commerce, and Christ. And so I think that's a great model, and he encapsulated that beautifully just now. So I'm grateful for that. The next pillar that we kind of really, or sector that we impact and transform, is with the women. And like Madam Nakan said a few moments ago, we partner with the Timeless Women's Network to be able to do that. This isn't coming in and doing it our way or trying to impose the American or the Western culture on African people. Quite frankly, the African culture is much more beautiful. They care about people. They're polite. They're respectful. They are energetic. Just go to there's so much singing and dancing and laughter. And so there's a lot of enthusiasm. And so culturally, the familiar aspect of it, how they treat elders and respect people. And it really is so contrary than what the media has tried to get us to believe, that we should be scared for our lives if we ever come to Africa, or that we're going to all die of malaria the moment we land on the continent. And we're laughing, but that is the actual perspective that people have. And I think we are busting many of those myths, even in the time of COVID. It's very ironic and special, but we're so thankful for our partnership and relationship with Madam Nakan and Timeless Women and all that God puts in her heart to do. One of the things I'm most impressed with is that, one of the places she started was in construction, women in construction. And I think it was it over 1,000 women that over 25,000 women that she has helped get construction jobs. Everyone likes to talk about the glass ceiling and gender support and so forth. And then there's some people who don't talk about it. They just do it. And I also like her philosophy of it. She always mentions that it is not a women's empowerment group per se. It does empower women, but it's not to the exclusion of men. It is not a feminist movement of, I am woman, hear me roar. It's not that kind of self-empowerment. It is a God empowerment, and let's equip them to make a difference, in their families and in their communities. And she said, we cannot alienate men if we want to actually have the impact. So it does no good to have these strong women programs if it's just, no men allowed. It's a girls' club. And so to have that perspective and to have that size of impact is the kind of people that we have partnered with and certainly want to continue partnering with, because of that philosophy and that perspective, which we believe is correct. You work together to accomplish these bigger objectives and agendas. The other area is in male development. Boys and men on the continent, there is a lot to be desired in terms of character, and many of the leaders here in Parliament and Senate and governments have continually shared their great concern because women, the expectation is that the woman is supposed to go work, and the husband and just the men just get to sit around and not do much. And then the woman who works all day has to come back, often walking several miles per day, regardless of the weather, on the red clay, not sidewalks and so forth. And then they're responsible for obviously everything in the home, and then raising the kids and food preparation and all of the matters of the house. And so we want to help teach men to be men. And I have a dear friend and brother, Dr. Frank Corbo, who has a very unique men being men program. We've called it Courageous Men, out of Joshua 1:9. Be strong and very courageous, fear not. And so we teach men to be men. We teach them how to be good husbands. We teach them how to be good fathers. We're teaching them how to be good business people. We're teaching them the value of work, the dignity of work, and working for work's sake. You work for an outcome, but you're not outcome driven. You're process driven. It's the discipline, the daily discipline. It is what the responsibilities should be looking like on an ongoing basis, and sharing that burden and load. One of the great tragedies, I was being driven by a place to Kibra, and then also some other locations where they have a great proliferation of, obviously, unwed mothers, because the men don't want to have to support the child, and so they just say, well, they don't have paternity tests, it's not mine. And but the problem is this, even since COVID started, 10% of the girls between 12 and 15 in the villages that we've spoken to have become pregnant. 10% of the girls between the ages of 12 and 15. And here, so the home life obviously is more tragic than if they are working. So you talk about child labor or other issues, but sometimes, but the choices are very limited. It's what is the best of the worst options that I have. Do I stay in an unhealthy environment, or in where rape is common, or do I go to and just start working, or do I run away? What do I do? And so we have to provide the medical services. We have to provide the education. We have to provide the empowerment, because what the other thing that we know is that when we educate, when we give young girls the health care that they need, they start to learn that they're created in the image of God, and they start to respect and value their bodies. So they're more aware when people are doing things inappropriate to them, and we can start affecting some social change in that regard. The next sector that we're transforming is in the humanitarian diplomacy. Obviously, that is much bigger here on the continent than it is in the United States, although we're flooded with nonprofits in the United States, so much so that it's like, oh, another nonprofit. But here, that is not the case. It's probably would be equivalent to where the United States was on the nonprofit side back in the 80s, where still 97% of nonprofits, I think as late as 1992, 97% of nonprofits were churches. They were the religious community. And then, of course, now those numbers are exactly inverted. And by the way, so are the contribution dollars. They're exactly inverted. And so, but the International College of Peace Studies under Rollins College, they teach a number of certificate and degree programs with risk management, risk aversion, and the humanitarian diplomacy acts. And so we actually will be having a graduation this coming Saturday, a week from Saturday, and where we'll be graduating this current class, which includes several government officials, which we're grateful to have on this African stakeholder call, along with chancellors and university leadership who have engaged in this course of study. And so you've heard from Dr. Waningu, but he started and leads that initiative. And of course, he is my right hand for the global missions that we do and global initiatives for around the world. And then we go to national security, which is really something that we have with Courageous, which is generating and working on artificial general intelligence, trying to, as a think tank, creating artificial intelligent national security systems that includes defense and weaponry. And but then we also have a partner as a part of that, Cyvolve, that handles the cybersecurity, and that's what we use and have governments use, and the global financial systems. We've met with nearly 20 banks throughout Africa, the largest banks in Africa, over the past 2 weeks, and the central bank, other banks, and so we are, working on securing them. Kenya, for example, has not been able to catch or indict one single cyber hacker. And what's amazing about that is they're common here. And the last one that I met with the chairman and CEO on Monday morning of this week, over $400 million data breach very recently. So the need is great. And so at this time, I would like to just introduce our lead for our cybersecurity solution, Miss Lynn Benway. And if you would just give a word of greeting and of course, maybe a bit of our background. Lynn and I have a great long-term relationship starting at a data company. And so it's quite interesting that here we are almost 20 years later and we're first circle, now we're protecting data. I'll turn it to you.
Thank you, Dr. Rollan. Hello, everyone. It's great to see you today. I was looking forward to this. And then my dear sister, Madam Nia Khan, I just love talking with her on a regular basis. It's just such a blessing to be here. I just want to encourage each of you as we go forward in transforming Africa. You know, the one thing that I always keep in mind is that we're here for a divine purpose. You know, the Lord God, he put us here with an intentional design. It doesn't matter if you're a man or woman, a child, each of us has a purpose. And so, you know, I started my career 40 years ago. And I remember thinking at that time, you know, I don't want to work above a man. I don't want to work below a man. I just want to work alongside a man. And that's really been my purpose. You know, I really resonate with the words. It's not a feminist movement. We just want to work with you. We want to make things better. The Lord gave us such fantastic minds. If you stop and think about it, what we're able to comprehend and then to articulate is just unfathomable. And I have such a privilege. I've worked in data for 20 years. I love data. And you know what I think about security? When I hear about security and all the thefts, I think, boy, you know, somebody didn't do their job years ago when we built these networks. They did not protect them. Therefore, you know, when I step back and look at every industry sector and every end user that has to participate, we have forced end users to learn a secondary business mindset. You know, they have their primary, they might be doctors, nurses, government employees. It doesn't matter where you come from, but all of a sudden you had to learn how to protect your stuff. And that's a whole nother industry. So what I love about Cyvolve, why I teamed up with them several years ago, they took this whole paradigm and they turned it upside down. You know, and they said, something's wrong. Our networks have breaches everywhere, but that means that there's gaps everywhere. Somebody made a mistake. And so Cyvolve has corrected that. It's one seamless platform. It is unhackable. And so what I love about it is that we're giving the business back to the business leaders. You know, go back and innovate. Go back and think of things that you can do to transform your businesses, your countries, but quit worrying about the security phase of it. That's the piece we're going to take over. And, you know, we've been so blessed in the marketplace. Right now it's in the NHS. They have 2.3 million employees and they are all protected at the endpoint as remote workers. And we're working on autonomous vehicles. They have to be protected. Anything that has data moving is going to be protected. And that data is secured in our patented data packets that move around. No matter where it goes in the world, it can be protected. So yeah, I just want to encourage each one of you to claim what his promise is. And he gave you great intentional design, and we just have to go forward and live it. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you, Lynn. At this time, I have kind of shared the broad overview of Transform Africa. And I think you have a good understanding and appreciation for what we're doing. I want to open it up for, I'm going to open it up for questions here, and we'll take your questions for about 15 or 20 minutes. And then I just want to share that, you know, we obviously, these things require resource mobilization. There's a lot of impact capital opportunities. We are packaging even some of the investments from this African funding tour in a portfolio investment. And so we're in conversations with different hedge funds and so forth that wanted to be a part of it, but that can't really invest at the level that which I'm here investing in. And so we have a lot of opportunity there. The cost is very low. Here's what I want you to walk away with. Every single one of these transformational sectors, the most advanced technology in terms of clean drinking water, road infrastructure, all of the different men's programs, women's programs, entrepreneurship training, all of these things we are able to do for $1.25 per year per person together we can actually reach every single individual on this continent with these services at $1.25 per person. That's what the numbers work out to be based on the technology and the services that we've outlined on this African stakeholder call. So there's a number of ways to be involved, whether it's through investment, whether it's through impact capital, whether it's through packaging and portfolio and amount of investment that must be get directed to the continent. We're focused on West Africa, East Africa, South Africa, and Central Africa. And so we've got numerous programs over the next 12 months. You can see from transform-africa.com, the ADES, the African Diplomatic Entrepreneur Summit, that is February 16th and 17th in Malawi. We hope to do another month-long funding tour. We have the Timeless Conference. We have the Courageous Men, the educational, the medical, clean water, technology, infrastructure. All these things are things we want to be moving forward on as early as September 1. So certainly, let's, for the hedge funds, for our UN stakeholder financial partners that are listening and attending, we thank you. And so we look forward to figuring out how best to work through our public-private partnership and through our nonprofit and NGO that based on how the funds need to flow in order to accomplish these objectives. Ultimately, it's about getting it done and it's about execution. A lot of people have a lot of good ideas, and what we've been able to share with you today is all of the people we have on the ground that are able to execute, and we already have the partnerships and the immediate impact. So with that, I'd like to open it up for questions for just a few minutes.
Yes, Bernard, Simon, are you ready? Is Simon around? Let's, our administrator for the International College of Peace Studies here, Madam Caesarina.
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. I didn't get you.
Simon, are you there? Ready on your list? Or anybody else who's ready? Any questions?
Could you have the questions? Could you have the questions? Could you type your questions in the chat? I'll be happy to coordinate how they're answered.
Yes, thank you. And there's a lot of background noise, so if everyone would kindly.
Apologies for that.
Yes. Yeah, very good. So if you'll type the questions in the chat, and then Dr. Waningo, if you would kindly present those.
Yeah.
So go ahead and be typing. I think there may already be.
Yeah,
some.
sure.
Dr. Waningo, can I go on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rollan and Dr. Waningo and group. My name is George Olemeshuko. I'm calling from Nairobi. I am the chair of Materet Development Program. This is an NGO based in the South Rift, that is Narok, Kajiado, and Samburu. We typically work for the pastoralist Maasai group of people in the southern of that country, that's Kenya. I think I love the way Dr. Rollan pioneered the meeting today. There are several issues that the objectives of our NGO is about mainly education, water, women empowerment, and the medical issues. First and foremost, one of our core agenda is educating the Maasai child. Having a very low percentage of children that has gone to school in that area, we are now faced with the idea of funding school fees for children both in secondary and tertiary institutions. That is one of the main objectives that we have. Among the questions that
if we can just, we would love to review any proposals, but kindly, do you have a question?
Yeah, my questions were, we sent a question there earlier, that what are the requirements for funding from the African funding tour? What are the statutory obligations that you need for an organization like ours so that we can roll on, and how we can engage on a set level so that those communities, because one of the proposals that we sent to, we want to send to a dispensary in the middle of 10, 20 kilometers where there is no medical facility,
Yes.
especially for women giving birth.
Yes.
Very serious. Another issue is about water, provision of clean water. Imagine in that area, those people are drinking water, then they share with the animals, the domestic animals, and even the wild animals. And it's a vexing, very, very, very serious issue as far as health is concerned.
Yes.
And so
Yes,
my question was, how do we, I can see you say September as a time that you want to start engaging with the organizations down on the ground. How about you, Dr.
Well,
William?
yeah, no, I appreciate the question, and there's several aspects I want to address with that. First of all, I understand your plight in the heart of your people. I was in a place yesterday that I had to twist arms to allow me to go, but one of the things that I saw there was an image of a boy with his head between the hind legs of a goat, trying to, and it showed him, drinking and using
trying
that
to skim some milk
as exactly, and trying to get something directly out of thirst. And so there's just a number of things. I understand what you're saying. We have, and I hope you heard that, we have the exact medical and drinking technology that you mentioned ready to deploy over the next few months. And so it will be organizations like yours that can apply and express the need for where those go. We also, though, so we're having to work with people on the ground, obviously, like yourself. And then we're also working with governments, as you see here behind me. And many of the people that my liaison, Dr. Waningu, facilitates. And so we have those in place. In terms of being able to go through our process for the African funding tour, we will be announcing what that funnel looks like and where to apply for that, so that you go through our programs to make sure that the business is at a level of excellence worthy of being funded. And so we like I said, I've been pitched hundreds of times in the last 2.5, 3 weeks. And so I love all the proposals and presentations, but we will have a process that those go through, in the coming weeks. And of course, even leading up to the African Diplomatic Entrepreneur Summit, where we will select the best enterprises to present, which will be in front of even government leaders. So thank you for your question. We will be providing that information. And we've taken down, note of this, and Dr. Waningu will be able to supply it as well. He will be sending out our process. All of our stakeholders will be sending out our process for all of our programs. If people want to enroll in the men's program or the women's program or the entrepreneur program or the funding tour or for a fishery starter kit, that's one of the greatest things that I'm working on with Dr. Whiteside that I mentioned, and Matt Sexton is working on, like fishery starter kits or greenhouse starter kits, aquaponic starter kits, piggery starter kits, farming starter kits, just the dairy starter kits, so that we can subsidize and have those. And then even working with one of the microloan organizations, so that there is still skin in the game for our entrepreneurs. But if I can get the kits for $1,000 and Kiva or one of our other microloan organizations put up 500, then it's an easier process. We can subsidize 500, they finance 500, and we're able to help a lot of people start businesses. And one of the things that I was speaking with our esteemed guest about earlier was, how do we make sure that they don't use that money for living expenses out of the gate? Because it has happened numerous times where we help people start businesses here, and then they're out of business in a month because they took the inventory, sold it, but they did not reinvest in more inventory because they had bills to pay or medical expenses. So I appreciate the question. We're working on it, and Dr. Waningu will be, and Madam Nakan will be sharing through all of our networks how to proceed and be a part of that. We're certainly looking forward to you being a part of that, and thank you for your heart for helping others. Next question, please.
Thank you, Dr. Rolland. I appreciate that we have met over the webinar. I will meet physically.
I'm looking forward to it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Waningo.
Yeah, thank you for coming. We'll see you, sir.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, we have just a question. Somebody's asking, that is Professor George Chisenga. What have we got for the renewable energy space in Africa?
That's a great question, Professor. I would say that there are several forms of alternative energy that we are engaging in. One of the main ones is waste to energy. You're already doing it all across the continent, but there are more effective and efficient and cheaper ways of doing it. That has been glaring during our time here. We have a number of waste to energy companies that we are helping, whether through equipment financing or inventory financing. But what the big missing is them understanding the supply chain. And they think of waste to energy as just landfill mining and development, which Mr. Chisholm, who spoke earlier, is also well versed in making the services of governments be sustainable and return an income. For most governments, water, trash, sewer, those are, or trash especially, that's an expense. And he has methods where that can actually be not just an expense, but a profit center for governments. My father, who is also on, and Senator Rollan Roberts from West Virginia, if you would kindly unmute as well and maybe say a word or two, but he is greatly involved in we grew up in coal country, a lot of coal mines in the hills of West Virginia and Kentucky and Ohio. And so one of the projects that he's been working on and with his constituents is the carbon mining of coal, carbon fiber coal, really. And so shifting a lot of the coal from being a form of energy to carbon fiber. And so that is a very unique thing. There is solar. There's, I'm not a proponent of wind. It takes more energy to create a wind turbine than the wind turbine can generate in its entire lifetime. That is the definition of insane. And so we want to promote sustainable sources of energy. The water, aqua power and hydropower is a very powerful thing. Steam, very powerful. There's a lot of alternative energy things with the water. For example, the water technology, we take any water source, period. We do not need to know the contaminants in advance. It can take any water source and provide, different machines have different capacity, but for example, our $25,000 machine is 5,000 liters per day of clean drinking water from any source. And it can do a village of 2,500 people, and that's at the 5,000 liters per day, 2 per person threshold that's recommended. And then you have the same thing for villages of 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, and we can put these things up all over the continent, and they're already here. So we're very thankful for that. But yeah, that's a little bit on the alternative energy side. The waste to energy, I'm on the board of directors for a company out of Singapore, EX0 Carbon, and they are our main provider for a lot of the waste to energy technology. In addition, we have already got that technology rolled out in the Dominican Republic in their landfills, and so I think there's a lot of social responsibility there. But that's also how we supply power to the rural places where they're still using candles, or lanterns. Lanterns or lanterns. So, yes, thank you. Next question.
Reverend Simon, please.
Yeah, I believe there's a question here by Lydia.
Yeah, Lydia, go ahead. Okay.
Just read.
Yeah, what criteria do Transform Africa use in capacity building and empowering the youths and the women in Africa? Thank you, Lydia.
Yeah, it's a great question. In terms of capacity building, we work with the governments. We're not trying to just come in and transform Africa on our own. In fact, that's one of the biggest differences with Transform Africa is that there's other than the facilitation and the empowering and the execution of it, we're working with purely and strictly through African partners because we find that is the best way of reaching our objectives and outcomes. And so the criteria, for example, in capacity building is the willingness of government, the willingness of the leaders to get behind different initiatives and to improve the lives of their constituents. So that's kind of how the criteria for me and for Transform Africa is the level of partnership that they are willing to extend to me. The more partnership they extend, the more willing we are to do what we have to do to increase the capacity. And then in terms of for the women and youth and the programs and things of that nature, we help people start businesses too. There are startups, so there's not going to be there's not an initial list to be a part of it, but there are expectations and responsibility when you become a part of it. So we work with various folks to subsidize what the expenses of those programs are. It's not cheap to do these things. Now, I say it's not cheap. It's cheap in the grand scheme of things, but it's not. It still takes dollars. If you don't have $10, is a lot. If you need $1 million and you don't have $1 million, is a lot. So whatever amount you need and you don't have, it's a lot. But in the grand scheme, it's not a lot. And so we believe that with the programs that we are already implementing, like I said, the one thing that not one single partner organization of the United Nations or these other organizations that are trying to impact the continent, the one thing they don't have is people. They can't put 1,000 people, that enterprises that come and bring their audited financials or bring their plans and their projections and their 5-year strategies, plans, and what they're doing now, and much less to know how much revenue they're doing, what net revenue is, what their profit margin is, what products and services should they be selling, how to pivot if their business is going down. There's not another place that is doing that at the scale that we're doing it at. So the impact is significant. So thank you for the question.
Another question, maybe the last one, is can Transform Africa initiative introduce use of biogas to help rural women to be empowered on a low cost of fuel and energy?
Absolutely. In fact, I spent great time with one of the female entrepreneurs who has built a smart stove with Internet of Things kind of stove that uses biogas for energy, which obviously is a lot more cost efficient. But more than that, it's safer. So it's environmentally friendly, but it's a safety issue for the home. And so they are wanting to build a biogas plant. They're already in pilots programs and have successfully generated, cleaned it, and currently able to store it. All major components of successfully starting a biogas enterprise. So we're definitely going to be, working on that initiative. But I think biogas is an extremely, it is a good alternative to what is currently being used today. So I think with that, we'll wrap up our Q&A. I know there's many other questions coming in, but what I can tell you is what Transform Africa. Just in brief, one question that came in. We're not here as the United Nations or any of the other handout organizations. We're here to empower. We're going to give you a fishing pole. We're not going to give you the fish. We will help you get started, but we're going to take part of it along the way because we want you to win. I don't want to come here giving out loans that start, because what happens when your business goes down? I'm not going to be happy, and you're not going to be happy, and you're going to be stressed, and then your health is going to deteriorate, and then we're in a real pickle. We got a problem. And so I'm interested in we're not sharks. We're interested in impact. We're interested in making a difference. We're interested in doing it right. And so we will be here to support you, to walk with you, to train you, to educate you, and to give you dignity in the process by walking alongside you as you do it. We're not going to do it for you. It's not okay if you sit on the side of the road and hang out all day with your buddies and drink and whatever else you do, and then a hardworking woman bringing in the income and payroll and taking the bills, and it's just that is not a society that is going to dominate the world. And we want to transform Africa so that it can take what I believe is its rightful and place as one of the greatest economies in the world. I mean, given the population and the impact and the creativity, Africa has been very good at exporting their raw materials, including their people, raw talent. And one of the missions that Transform Africa and a lot of our partners have is can we stop exporting all of our most valuable possessions, and can we develop things here, and can Africa actually, they export the raw ingredients and then they import the finished product. So can we keep our raw materials, develop our entrepreneurs so that they are actually exporting finished products and not just always importing them. So with that, I want to just thank all of our esteemed guests and dignitaries and those of Senate and Parliament. I know that one of the reasons, impetus for this call was that my time here has been very limited and that I have not been able to meet with many of the folks that wanted to meet. And so many thanks to Dr. Waningo and to PEFA and the other partners who made this possible. We just wanted to make sure we give everyone as much access as possible, but we're working on some major things. And I can assure you of this to every single person listening today or in the future, we could not do this without you. Each one of these enterprises, each one of you that hold positions in universities or in government or in private enterprise, or you just have a startup business and Dr. Waningo allowed you on this call, we need all of you from the top to the most rural person. We want to help every single last one of you. We have the technology and the programs and the people to do it immediately. And so we ask for your continued prayers and support that we will continue to get the stakeholders and the partners that we need, that their hearts will be touched and that they'll just partner and join along with us. So with that said, I want to thank our host, Madam Nakan, June, and the Timeless, and then also Dr. Waningo for the facilitation of this special event, and our esteemed guests that are in our presence today, and the Grace and the other technical team that has just been so generous for my entire duration, and then also facilitating this call. To everyone, thank you so much, and we look forward to being a part of Transforming Africa, because together we can. God bless you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming in, and God bless. Bye for today.